Distributed information systems. This system is another type of distributed system. In this term and for this course, I'm focusing on this type of systems. Uh, okay, observation. The vast amount of distributed systems in use today are forms of traditional information systems that now integrate legacy systems. Example, transaction process systems. Okay, in this figure you can see an example of transaction. You learn the principle of database and transaction in the previous degree. uh, I think in the previous degree you pass an course with name database. Okay, in database course you have learned the principle of database and something about the SQL and some statement that uh, are used in SQL. You learn something about the transaction, about the rules of transaction. Okay, in this figure you can see an example of transaction. This transaction includes some statement. The first statement of this transaction is read statement, read transaction file 1 and data. By using this statement, the data are read from the file 1. Okay, by second statement, which is write, the data are stored on file 2. Okay, after that, new data is equal to modify procedure, modify data. Modify is a procedure that change data, and new data is obtained by using the modify procedure. Okay, by run procedure, the data is checked. The new data is checked. If the new data is right, okay, the first case, okay, if the new data is wrong, the transaction must be abort. Uh, okay, by using the abort transaction uh, function. In other state, if the new data is right, is okay, the new data must be right on file 2 by using the right statement. Okay, and finally, the transaction must be finished by using the end transaction statement. Okay, this is a simple example of using the transaction procedure. Okay, a transaction is a collection of operations on the state of an object. The object can be database, object composition, etc. Okay. That satisfy the following properties. A set. Okay, 4 properties exist on the transaction. What are ACID properties? What do A, C, I, and D represent? Okay, A is get from atomicity. All operations either success or all of them fail. When the transaction fails, the state of object will remain unaffected by the transaction. Okay, C is get from consistency. A transaction establish a valid state transition. Again, a transaction establishes a valid state transaction. Okay, for example, if a transaction uh, run on a table, okay, the table, uh, the state of table change to new state, the old state and the new state, both of them are valid. This does not exclude the possibility of invalid intermediate state during the transaction execution. Isolation is another property of transaction. Okay, what is isolation? Concurrent transactions don't interfere with each other. It appears to each transaction T that other transactions occur either before T or after T, but never both. And durability is the final property of a transaction. After the execution of a transaction, its effects are made permanent, change to the state survive failures. Okay. Each transaction must be consist of these four properties. Okay. Transaction processing monitor. What is transaction processing monitor? In many cases, the data involved in the transaction is distributed across several servers. You know, uh, we talk about the distributed systems. Okay, and the distributed systems include some machines that are connected through the network, and all network can be used uh, for one application. Okay, one application can be the database. Okay, the database can distribute between some machines, between some servers. Okay, so in this case, we need to use the TP monitor. A TP